Alright, hello, and this is my first video. It's going to be a guide on how to scale your nation, how to dev, how to be most optimal and powerful for whatever game you're doing. This can be in single player, multiplayer, although in single player you really don't need to do any of this. Now, to show you how to properly scale your nation, I've gone into a save I have where I'm playing as Poland, and I am not only in the Age of Revolution, but I'm the economic hegemon with 1,500 income and 1,000 balance a month, making a large amount of money with a ton in the bank. If I remember correctly, we had just gone out of a war with Austria. I can't remember what war it was about. I haven't checked out the save for a little bit, but I'm just here to go over what I did and how you can replicate it in your games to become as powerful as possible to either get economic hegemon or just play the game fun however you want to. Let's start with deving here. Even though these provinces have a ton of dev in them, 18 dev, they are still only 16 for me to dev at, which at this state in the game shouldn't even be happening. As you can see, I haven't really dev'd my gold province that much because, well, I clearly don't need the income. But these provinces right here, where we can dev them up, there's a reason why they're so cheap for us to dev, and we're going to go over that right now. Now, the first thing, because we are in the Age of Revolution, we have universities pretty much everywhere except for these northern territories that I don't really care about. And these universities gives 20% local dev cost, which is extremely powerful, but that's not where we stopped. We did take PLC ideas over just normal Polish ideas. We have stacked our dev modifiers. There's a dev modifier right here in infrastructure ideas, a dev modifier in serfdom right here from aristocratic ideas, and just all around we stacked dev modifiers such as there. We used to have the clergy modifier, which I believe it is, where is it? Development of temples right here. Every owned province that has a temple or cathedral gives 5% dev cost. That's powerful early game when you have cathedrals and whatnot, but at this stage in the game, we don't really care about cathedrals or anything like that, any churches, because taxes has now been outscaled by everything else. Now, moving on from our estates and buildings, there are a couple other modifiers that you want to stack. For one, in every single one of our states, we have prosperity at 100%. This gives us a local dev cost minus 10% and 25% local goods produced. That is extremely powerful, and you want to stack that as much as possible. It's arguably better than a workshop in some cases. Now, you may be wondering, how do you get a large income? If you're just eating land, you're not really going to get that large of income. You need to do a couple other things. Deving is the minimum. Developing your lands, coming over here and pressing these buttons, that's the minimum of what you want to do. Now, moving on from modifiers like prosperity and etc. Like I said, deving is the absolute minimum to do. How you're really going to scale is with modifiers from buildings such as counting houses, workshops, churches, training fields, soldiers' households, and especially manufactories. This is how you get your income to the highest possible. Every single province that we can right now has a manufactory. The ones that don't have them are coal provinces right now, which we already have our furnaces there, which are manufactories but hyped up on, I don't even know what they're hyped up on. Now, aside from the obvious buffs from getting manufactories, such as the production bonus you get from that, it also gives you, if you take a look, some extra trade. You may not see it right here in this tab, but you can see the production you get from this, which it's quite useful. But if you go into our trade node here, which I believe I have everything flowing into Krakow, even though it's not very optimal. No, I'm just collecting everywhere. Okay. Well, ain't that something? But if you take a look at our Krakow trade node, you'll notice that we're earning almost 200 ducats here, because the trade goods we have here are multiplied by the manufactories. So there is 4 ducats coming in from just manufactories alone in this province. If we make it that, then it'll be something more like 16 ducats coming from this one province in trade alone, which is a lot of it's a lot of income if you ask me. And that's mostly how you're going to scale late game. You want to combine things such as trade. I should probably have a little bit more of my income be trade, but I haven't really been doing it too optimally, plus my trade node's not really the best. I could be building these right now, and it'd be better, but that's beyond the point. Our nation has a very large income because we've built buildings properly. Just click on a random province and you'll see a ton of buildings built, pretty much as we can. Now, I could be far more optimal with this and go in and expand infrastructure, dev up the rest of these. Governing capacity is not a problem right now, so I could expand infrastructure in provinces that could have more buildings in them. But because I'm not playing this campaign anymore, I'm not going to do that right now, but that is something you can do. Now, our army is extremely powerful. If we go into our production interface here and go to land units, you can see that we have 606 units. How do we get these units? Well, we have a lot of manpower buildings, a lot of force limit buildings. These are going to be the backbone of your campaign. Because this is single player, I don't really care too much about making these everywhere, but in multiplayer, if you can get yourself to do it, build these everywhere. If it's a yellow province, that means you can build more buildings there, but you need more slots. So if I click on this province right here, we could build more buildings in here if we had this slot right here, which we can either achieve by developing it or expanding its infrastructure like this. And then boom, we can build this building right here, which will give us 750 more manpower. It's pretty good. Now when you do those, your army should slowly get more powerful. But of course, one thing you have to remember, do not focus on just your counting houses, manufactories, and temples, but also don't just build your conscription centers, your training fields, your barracks, your regimental camps, and your soldiers' households. You need to find a nice mix between them. Something I like to do is, if I know I'm going to go to war within the next 10 years, I start building these. If I'm pretty sure that I am going to have peace for a little while, then I'm going to start building these to scale up and keep up with everyone. Now, most of the time, if you're deving properly and building your buildings, then your nation should look something similar to mine, where you can have provinces with 21 development on them, and it only costs you 16 to dev. Obviously, this number does go up over time. We deved a few times, and oh, look at that, it costs 27 to dev in now. We do have burger loyalty, that's another thing you need to make sure you have, but if we do this, I was hoping there would maybe be something that could give us a little bit of dev modifiers, but there's not, sadly. Also, a lot of deving modifiers can come from your mission tree. Right now, I don't have a single modifier from my mission tree right now that is helping me with development. Not a single one. Everything here is purely from, I would like to say, my ideas, but there's no ideas here that help my deving, only goods produced, which is still very useful. Now, from our national ideas, we have infrastructure, which gives us the 10% like I explained before. We have just all these ideas here that stack really well together. I don't think we have a single policy that helps us out with deving, but mostly with our discipline, army, and overall income. That's where we're getting a lot of our strength from. Same with our government right here. We get a lot of strength from it. Not only that, but we also have more modifiers like here. At tier 8, you can get this, which 5% dev, 5% goods produced. Very powerful. You want to make sure you can get these modifiers as soon as possible. They're very powerful, and overall will help you. If you follow these steps here, then your nation should become very powerful. Usually by 1600, if you're doing everything right. Even before then, like 1550, you can get a very sizable force, and if you're playing multiplayer, you could even become the star of the lobby, which isn't always a good thing, but if you're looking to have a fun time, have big wars, then you want to follow this guide very carefully. One last tip before I go here, something you always want to do no matter what, if you can help it at least, is if you have a parliament, then you want to put parliament seats everywhere. I got rid of my parliament in return for, I can't remember what reform I grabbed. Oh, I took royal decree for that extra absolutism, and mostly yearly gain of it. Now, if I swap back to Parliament right now, and I put every single one of my provinces in the Parliament, I could expect to see a large increase in not only income, but manpower. I could maybe get to another 100,000 manpower, maybe 80,000 from just having every province in Parliament, and I'm not even going to try to think of the math on my income here. That's the last tip I have for you today, because this doesn't focus on anything else like trade or warfare. This is simply building up your nation to be powerful. And that's all for today.